We all like video games, don't we? Yes, even me, someone that spends a lot of time saying how much some of them suck. But we also like other things. And sometimes you would like those things to become video games, but well, sometimes they don't become video games, and sometimes they do, but they suck, so some people, not me in this case, will often try and make a better video game themselves out of the thing they liked. And these are the top 7 unofficial video game adaptations. Attempts by people just like you to turn something that wasn't a video game, probably was never meant to be a video game in the first place or at all, and then turn it into a video game. Before we start, I have to mention something very important. A lot of people have made adaptations of things in the video games, I mean a lot of them. And I know there may be some better ones out there. Well, not in the case of the first one, nothing can beat the first one, but I am quite confident that there are a few that I have missed. So if you know one and you think it is good enough, make sure to post it in the comments. So that being said, let's get started with number 7, the Dragon Ball Z RPG. I played this in I think 2003, 2002. I got it off a CD that someone that had at one time access to the internet obtained, and I have no idea exactly what this game was. In the sense that it's not the one you're seeing on the background. It was a game made like 20 years ago in something that looked to be RPG Maker. Could have probably been RPG Maker since that's been around for 30 years or something. And it followed the plot of the original Dragon Ball Z. I won't say first season, but first story arc with the Saiyans. And it was, well, good enough. The fighting was, well, RPG Maker level fighting, so didn't do well in that case. But in terms of characters, story, actually getting dialogue in there, not just pointless screaming, but did a fine job. And I've got no clue who it was made by, when, just that apparently whoever did it really liked Dragon Ball Z. And I know there's a bajillion, gabillion, megatrillion, super duper quintillion, a Googleplex number of Dragon Ball Z fan game adaptations, but I mentioned this one because it was the first one I actually played. It was the first Dragon Ball Z or Dragon Ball in general game I played. So there you have it. Number 6, Barkley Shut Up and Jam Gaiden. Now this is both a sequel and an adaptation because there was a game called Barkley Shut Up and Jam in the ancient days of the Sega Genesises and the SNESes, and it was a basketball game starring the well-known athlete Charles Barkley, not to be confused with Gnarls Barkley, which isn't actually a person, that's a band. I know it's crazy, right? But anyway, many years later, after that game came out, some people calling themselves Tales of Game Studios made Barkley Shut Up and Jam Gaiden, which is a sequel sort of to that thing, and also an adaptation of Space Jam, the movie with Looney Tunes and Michael Jordan. And it's based around the idea that in a post-apocalyptic or something future, Charles Barkley dunked a basketball so hard that he destroyed the city. So basketball gets outlawed or something, and then there's another explosion, he gets blamed for it and has to run away, and the ball that's used to steal talents from Space Jam is involved in there, so that's why I'm calling this as an adaptation. It's an RPG, it's a JRPG, just like the Dragon Ball one, but it's weird. And like most, I mean all fan adaptations, it's free. You can't buy these games, I mean legally, you cannot ask money for them at all. Because if you did, you would be on such thin ice that you may as well just start singing Frozen songs because you're going to be underwater and, well, a block of ice soon. And by that I mean in jail and fined. Both. Speaking of which, number 5, My Little Pony Fighting is Magic. So I know that the internet was insane a couple of years ago with a cartoon show about some ponies. I think that may have died off, but before it did, somebody tried to make a fighting game out of a cartoon show about ponies and friendship and magic, and I dare not speculate further because I've seen pictures of fan meetings and forests, and I'd rather not remember them. But the people that made this adaptation, the main 6, actually tried to do a good job of it. Make an actual proper fighting game out of it. And it was actually gaining traction. They're trying to make like a super duper legit full release. But unofficial. And the company that owns that show, Hasbro, I think, they probably own everything, intervened and said, yeah, nope, we're gonna kill you and send your corpses off to undead jail to mine corporate speak for the dark overlords of the business world until the end of time or something. So it got totally, completely cancelled. Well, not really, because the creator of the show liked it. So she just made original characters for them to use in the game, and now it's called Them's Fighting Herds, and it's gonna be out this year. Now, technically, that sort of makes it an official adaptation now, but it's not adapting anything anymore. It's its own thing. Though it did start out as an unofficial adaptation of My Little Pony Friendship is Magic, with fighting. And I imagine that probably one of those ponies is gonna fight a bit like Wolverine does. He seems to show up quite a lot, or at least his moveset seems to show up quite often in video games about fighting. Number 4, The Great Gatsby. If you don't know, there's a book called The Great Gatsby, and it's really big. There was also a movie with it by some director, and it starred that guy that got eaten by a bear, and it had a really horrible trailer where they sing the first part of the song kind of slow and sad and then start screaming, which is why I usually compare the current XCOM series to in terms of adaptation from, or there is a modernization of something old. But there is a game about it, that it's an NES style retro platformer that's, well, I've honestly never read a book because I'm not from the USA, not from an English-speaking country. We have our own long-ass boring books to care about. Never seen the movie. I think Spider-Man's in it too, one of them at least. But this exists as its own game, though technically, can I call it an unofficial adaptation since it's based on a book so old that I don't think it has copyright on it anymore? I'm gonna say yes, just because I don't want this show to be like 5 minutes shorter. And you can play The Great Gatsby. Again, it's probably not gonna be exactly what you imagined from, that book about... Actually, again, I have very vague understanding of what it's about, but as a platformer, it'll look kind of okay. Number 3, Stargate SG1. This is an adventure game made in the AGS engine, the engine that's been used to make adventure games since the dawn of man. And it's an adaptation of the Stargate SG1 TV series, the one with the Choppa eyes and the Teal'cs and the Indeeds and the O'Neill. 2 of them actually. There's a joke in there in the series that's really obscure for the people that saw the movie and noticed them. But anyway, this is a legit proper attempt at making like a high quality retro adventure game out of Stargate. This isn't some half-assed effort, they really put some thought into it. I think I actually made a separate show about it years and years ago. And it is a game where you control the team, Teal'c, Sam, Daniel, Jack, and you go to an alien planet to investigate something. You have puzzles, you see that the characters talking to each other. I think you can shoot stuff. Braytac shows up at one point. It doesn't have the greatest presentation in terms of graphics quality because it's made on the AGS by fans of the series, not by people that had money to actually make it. But I remember it being competent enough and not really short, in terms of adventure games. It took over an hour. I think it took around 2 hours to actually finish, which is kind of decent. Just don't expect any voice acting in it because, how could they do that? They couldn't really afford to do that. It's an AGS game, not a commercial one. Number 2, Community Journey to the Center of Hawthorne. Now, if you're not familiar with the TV show Community, well, shame anyways. It's a wonderful show about people that are a bit lunatic. It starts out as seemingly not all that interesting comedy about some people going to college centering around a fake lawyer that was found out to be fake and now has to get his law degree at a college and, just goes to the worst college possible just so he can breeze through the classes. And they sort of form a little team with other characters that, have funny lines to say. And there's Chevy Chase in there as well. And it starts all like your run-of-the-mill comedy, but halfway through season 1, it starts going insane a bit. The good kind of insane, the insane kind of insane that makes you keep wanting to watch it because you just know they're gonna do more insane stuff as time goes on. The characters start becoming from, maybe a bit oddball to completely off their rocker, and it just gets even more glorious as time goes on. And in one season, the third one, there is an episode where they have to play a game called Journey to the Center of Hawthorne so that the character played by Chevy Chase can get his inheritance. And the entire episode, 90% of it, is within a video game. One that looks a lot like Terraria, only I think it may have aired before Terraria was a thing. The game described in the TV show looked just absolutely amazing in terms of crafting, in terms of things you could do. Sure, it was a 2D kind of affair, but it had programmable characters in it, so you could program a character to basically program another character to do something else. Think of it like what you can see in Minecraft's Redstone or Dwarf Fortress's everything, but delivered via an actual in-game scripting system, not just making really long lines of redstone. And some fans of it decided, you know what, this looks like it would actually been a really nice game, so they made it. Now, it's not as super duper mega ultra complex as the one described in the TV show was, but it's still like a nice, fine looking, interesting type of game where you fight hippies and jive turkeys. Well, the main idea is that the game was created by a really unpleasant person a long time ago. The game is free. The source code is completely open, so you can do whatever you want to it. So if you're interested, go check it out. And number 1 is Armijo. Now, you may be looking at what's in the background and wondering, what the hell is this an adaptation of? Well, the answer is Les Misérables, mon ami. Mais oui, Les Misérables, le magnifique livre écrivé par Victor Hugo. Je pense qu'il était correct. Qu'est-ce que je dis 1 minute ago? Possibly, I do not know. My French is sort of limited to saying I have read pencil books and my flowers are very beautiful. I have seen a lot of Louis Define movies. This is a fighting game made after Les Miserables, or Les Mis as the Americans call it because they can't pronounce the entire name of it for some reason. It has the characters from the book. With the original artwork, it's not taken out of the anime. Well, I think it wasn't. It was a cartoon we used to watch in the 90s. I think it was from the 80s or 70s or something. I don't know. And the characters behave like they're in a fighting game. They have special attacks. They have combos. You have a arcade mode, if you will, where you progress through fighting several characters, and then at the end you have to fight a boss, like an actual boss that I forget the name of. I made a show about it, but turns out I used a bit of a music track from the cartoon I mentioned earlier, and 4 years later it looks like it got taken down. Good job, YouTube. At least you didn't do it while I was dead in the hospital. But anyway, this game isn't new. This isn't part of some recent trend to make funny types of ridiculous adaptations from things that probably didn't need adaptation. No. This was made 20 years ago. 20. A long time ago. And it is quite playable even today. It's free. You can find it on the web. It's a game where you can play as Jean Valjean, who for some reason turns into Iron Man or something like that at some point as a special move, and kick the snot out of Cosette. There's also a toy horse, a stuffed horse that's fighting character. It's a weird game. How can it not be? It's an adaptation of a book that wasn't about a street fighting tournament held in the time of whatever revolution was taking place back then in France. I absolutely encourage you to go play it. I probably had better footage of it, like my footage of it, if my video of it wasn't taken down. Thanks, Obama. He was still president back then, so I can blame him. So that would be my top 7 unofficial video game adaptations. Again, if you have your own, if you know there's a couple of them I missed, and I'm sure there are a couple of them I missed, please make sure to mention them in the comments. Goodbye.